A very good evening, welcome to Champions League Live as the knockout playoffs come to a conclusion over this midweek. We will find out which of the 8 teams will progress and who they will face in the round of 16 come the end of the week. Already, we have our first team through to the round of 16 from the knockout playoffs. Atletico Madrid surpassing Club Brugge by 4-1 at the Wanda Metropolitano in Madrid. 4-1 winners, and overall, after the 3-all first leg, full of goals this one, a total of a 7-4 aggregate victory for Atletico Madrid to head through to the round of 16. The goals coming mostly in the second half for Atleti. Alexander Sorloth got the scoring underway before Ordonez got Club Brugge back into the game and within a fight. It was 4-4 on aggregate at half time, but Cardoso gave Atleti the lead again, and Sorloth finished it off and completed his hat-trick on the 87th minute to make it 4-1 and ultimately 7-4 on aggregate. So Atleti through to the round of 16. They're the first of the 4 teams that we will find out who will be through to the next stage this evening. Also, Bayer Leverkusen take a 2-goal lead into their game at home against Olympiacos at the Bayer Arena in Leverkusen. Bayer Leverkusen 2-0 up from the first leg. From Greece, Inter Milan have all the work to do. That's our feature game this evening. They are 3-1 down from their first leg deficit away at Bodo Glimt, but they welcome Bodo to San Siro. Not an easy place for any team to go in European football, but neither is Bodo Glimt. They've beaten City, Atleti and Inter in their last 3 Champions League games, so they are no team to be tested with, and they've got a 2-goal advantage heading to Milan. And it is pretty easy, surely, for Newcastle with a 6-1 aggregate lead heading into tonight's game against FK Karabag. Will they be able to get the job done? You would suspect so, with a 5-goal lead, and surely they are through. Karabag need one hell of a miracle if they are going to get through. A miracle doesn't even stand for it. I mean, I don't even know what they need, but they certainly need to win by 6 strict clear goals to go through, which is surely impossible. But that is our setup for this evening. 3 games kicking off at 8 o'clock. 1 already concluded and 4 more to come tomorrow. Atalanta take on Borussia Dortmund. Juventus face Galatasaray. Big upset there from the first leg. Galatasaray 5-2 winners against Juve. PSG 3-2 leaders against Monaco. They take place at the Parc des Princes tomorrow evening. And our feature game is in Madrid as Real look to join their local rivals in Atleti in heading into the round of 16, where they've got a 1-goal advantage against Benfica heading into tomorrow night's game. But back on tonight's action, and as I said, the big one is of course at San Siro. All the question marks over whether Inter, who were the finalists in this competition last season, can overcome a Bodo Glimt side who've never got to the round of 16 in this competition. They did make it to the semi-finals of the Europa League last year before being knocked out by eventual winner Spurs. But the round of 16 in the Champions League would be a first for Norwegian football, and certainly a first for this pretty up-and-coming Bodo Glimt side, who've been a thorn in Europe's top teams this season. And they are making it a tough task for the Azzurri coming into this one this evening. They're the 3-time winners of this competition, Inter, but they're going to have a lot of work on their hands if they want to get to anywhere near where they were last season. Let's have a look at the two teams then for this one as we get ready to get going here in Milan. Let's start with the home side and some injury concern for Inter Milan. No captain and kind of main man for Inter, you got to say, Lautaro Martinez. He's injured after picking up an injury in the Arctic Circle last week in the reverse fixture. But Jan Sommer continues in goal, a back five of Enrique, Bisek, Akanji, Bastoni and Di Marco. In midfield, Nico Barella takes up the captain's armband alongside Davide Fratesi and Zielinski, with a front two of Marcus Thuram and young player Francisco Pio Esposito alongside Thuram. On the bench for Christian Chivu's side, Di Gennaro, Martinez, De Vrij, Acerbi, Augusto, Dumfries, Sucic, Diouf, Mkhitaryan, Darmian, Boni and Lavele for this one. Well, for Bodo Glimt, as I said, history beckons for them if they can pull off what is a incredible two-legged outcome. If they can knock out Inter Milan over two legs, and especially here at San Siro, they have a lot of a big task on their hands. But as I said, they have a 2-goal advantage to take to this one. They start with Heiken in goal. They've gone for a back four, which is of interest really for this one. Sovold, Bjortoft, Gunderson and Bjorken are the back four. Berg, Evgen and Fett, who scored the opener last week, they're all in midfield, with Blomberg and the two forward players who scored the second and the third for Bodo Glimt, Haug and Hug, are the front two for Bodo Glimt. On the bench, Lund, Xiong, Nielsen, Alisme, Bassi, Oakland, Saltnes, Klink, Richnes, Helmerson, Mata and Mikkelsen. So it is a huge tie, certainly for both teams. Inter, albeit no disrespect to Bodo, but they do not want to be knocked out of this competition at this early stage and by a team who've never got past this stage before. But Bodo Glimt, as I said, history could be on the cards tonight, and what a way it would be and what a venue it would be to create history. It is kick-off at San Siro between Inter Milan and Bodo Glimt is next. A very good evening. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us for this one tonight. As I said, Inter Milan, who got all the way to last season's final, albeit they were humbled in said final, but they got all the way to the main event. But now they have work to do if they want to progress to the round of 16. In this position, they weren't even in this time last season, Inter. They are automatically qualified via their league phase position, but not this season. A tougher campaign for Inter, albeit their defence as strong as ever, but not against their Norwegian counterparts last week. Conceding 3 goals is a rarity for Inter, but winning by 3 goals in a knockout stage of a Champions League game is also a rarity. Something they have to do tonight if they are going to overcome what has been a tricky team already for them in this season's competition. 3-1 deficit. Can they turn it around? They gave us some incredible knockout games before, Inter. Can they do it again? And can they do it without their talisman, Lautaro Martinez, who has been involved in a lot of the good things that Inter have done over the last few years? 2 Champions League finals. But now they're on a fight to progress from the very first stage of the knockouts in this season's competition. We're underway at San Siro, underway elsewhere as well at St James's Park and at the Bayer Arena in Leverkusen, as we see 2 of the home sides with advantages heading into this leg, and Inter the only home side coming into tonight, coming into their game with a deficit to overcome. So certainly on their own on that factor, which is quite a surprise, the fact that only Bodo Glimt out of last week's home teams were able to take advantage into the second leg. And that is going to be a task of just trying to stay tight and stubborn against this Inter team, who can really get forward and use their wing backs as extra wingers in a sense. That extra quality further forward. They will need it tonight, but they've won an early free kick here, Bodo. right hand side. Let's see what they can offer here. Right from the off. It'll be Berg that will take it. Right footed, it's swung towards the area. Up and away by Bisek, but it's Bjortov that's picked it up. And down the left it comes across. Hooked away by Barella as Fett was closing in. Bodo have not started this game by trying to defend their position. They're trying to even add upon it, which would be another crazy factor that we haven't considered really coming into this one tonight. All the talk of whether Inter can come back, whether they can use the home crowd to their advantage and find a way through. We haven't really considered the fact that, Bodo fairly beat Inter last week, and by no helping hand, albeit they had the home crowd, and maybe the pitch helped them, but still they beat Inter fair and square, and you've got to remember that. A lot of these players were in the team that were beaten this time last week. Inter of all the hard work, and they need to get off to a quick start. Bisek plays it out to the left hand side for DiMarco. Now Barella ricks into the area, cuts it back to DiMarco, who chips it across, and the header is over the top by Esposito. The young centre forward with the best chance of the early minutes of this game so far. Great cross by DiMarco, and Esposito got up and above it and just couldn't head it back towards goal, just over the crossbar. A good early start there for the 20-year-old. And that is exactly the start the home crowd would have wanted to see from their team. A team that actually have been in a really good run of form. You take this, the first leg of this fixture out of it, Inter have been in an incredible run of form elsewhere. Actually, you take the Champions League out of it, they haven't lost outside of Italy, in terms of Italy actually, in terms of their competitions, since the Italian Super Cup back in December. So domestically, they've been impeccable, Inter. But when it comes to European exploits, a little bit more difficult. The last two defeats have come in the Champions League, away at Bodo and then at home to Arsenal. In the final, the Matchday 7 league phase game. Other than that, they've been impeccable, winning 7 of their last 8 games in all competitions, which is a form that really would have taken that last week's result by surprise. Here's Enrique, finds Barella, chips it into the area, just a little too far on that one from Nico Barella. Goes behind for the goal kick. Well, no sooner are we underway at St James's Park than Newcastle have taken the lead. A 6-1 aggregate lead coming into tonight's fixture at home against Qarabag, and they have already opened the scoring. Sandro Tonali has given Newcastle the lead on the night, and it is 7-1 on aggregate. Newcastle edging towards an incredible aggregate victory over Qarabag. Of course, it was an early start that got them off to an incredible margin right from the off last week. Of course, Anthony Gordon joining an exclusive list of players to score 4 goals in a single Champions League game, beating Alan Shearer's record for Newcastle. Albeit, that was, oh my god, they've scored again. I've just glanced over from 1-0, it's now 2-0. And Newcastle doing exactly what they did last week, tearing Qarabag apart right from the beginning. They're 2-0 up, 8-1 on aggregate. And that is an incredible start for Newcastle United. Emphatically sweeping Qarabag to the side. Here is Enrique for Inter. Down the right hand side, he skips past his marker. Enrique drops it back into the area. Cleared away by Berg. And then picked back up by the left back here, Bjorken. Just played back to the goalkeeper, Heiken. And we'll go long. And that will bounce out of play for an Inter throw. Inter started to take a little bit of control of this game now. Since that chance for Esposito, they've probably had the best of the play. Inter, albeit not threatening the goalkeeper too much. Di Marco. Bastoni looking for the ball over the top. Di Marco on the run. Tracked all the way, but he's wrestled for it there, and he had the last touch, Federico Di Marco. That's going to be a goal kick. Well defended there by the right back, Frederick Schovold. He did really well there. A 22-year-old Norwegian right back. Actually scored for Bodo Glimt in that 2-1 win over Atletico Madrid on match day 8 of the Champions League phase. And a team that, let's not forget, you know, the Norwegian league season finished in November. They've been in the off-season technically over this recent run in the Champions League, and their last 3 games have been in the Champions League, including this one. So you could argue that they're performing at such a high level in what is meant to be their off-season rather than in full league form like the majority of the teams in this competition, which makes their feat and the fact that they're doing this so much more impressive. And actually, by the time, if they do go through in the round of 16, to the round of 16, by the time they play that tie, their league season will be getting underway. They start their league campaign on the 15th of March away at Sarpsborg, which would be in between the round of 16 tie and the first and second legs. Enrique's cross, and the header is easily caught by Heiken. Albeit Esposito getting on the end of another cross. A long clearance by the Bodo goalkeeper. Flicked on, but Inter able to retrieve. Only momentarily though. It was balled back with Bjortuft. Schovold plays it down the right hand side, one for Blomberg to chase, but just bounced off Blomberg and out for the throw to Inter. Long throw by Bastoni down the left, looking for the head of Thuram. Nicely taken in the second ball there by Barella, who was doing keepy-ups as he progressed the ball there, but ultimately dispossessed. And Schovold tries to feed it in behind. Nice flick-on idea, but Enrique was there to separate Haug and Hoog. We've got to definitely get those two names mixed up. Doesn't also help that they're both similar positions. Thuram does well. Lays it back to Bisek. He will play it across to Akanji. Now Bastoni. Down the left to Di Marco. This little 1-2 with Barella. Fed into Esposito. Played back to Di Marco. Really nice vertical play there by Inter, but well broken apart and cleared back to Bisek. Starting to grow in dominance. Inter certainly on the ball. 65% of the possession in the first 10 minutes. Still yet to breach the Norwegian defence. Bisek to Enrique. Oh, lovely little step up here by Zielinski, trying the cross. Well put behind by Schovold for the corner. See it here. Beautiful ball by Enrique, and it's flicked on by Thuram, and it's actually Davide Fratesi that picks it up. Tries to flick it across, and Schovold gets his body in the way, puts it behind for the corner, which Federico Di Marco will take. Left-footed delivery by DiMarco. Battling around the box. It's not cleared away. Bastoni lays it back to DiMarco, who wasn't too far away from beating the goalkeeper there. Heiken had to parry it over his crossbar from an awkward angle. Whether it was a cross or a shot from Federico DiMarco, it certainly tried to wrong foot the goalkeeper. And Heiken had to get his right hand up quickly and put it behind for another Inter corner. DiMarco will take this once again. Left-footed delivery, flicked on and cleared off the line of the back post. And again, Inter applying all the pressure, and Bodo just trying to hang in there at the moment. Barella. Bizek with a cross, headed on by Esposito again, but scrambled clear by Blomberg there, who was caught. And I think the referee's going to give a free kick. And that's going to benefit the visitors. Just to have that moment to breathe, really. And Zakanji tried to win the ball and is kind of caught Blomberg. So we see that chance for DiMarco again. I mean, whether it was a cross or a shot, it was a great, tantalising ball. And the goalkeeper had to be reactionary and had to react really quickly to keep it out. And that's the tricky part for Bodo. If Inter get an early goal, the crowd are up, they're feeling it, the momentum's with them, and the fear could be that the game would start to fall away from Bodo and the tie will start to fall away. But the longer they keep it tight and keep it narrow. That's a lovely ball for Thuram, who put it wide. Whether the flag was up anyway. See it again, whether Thuram, yeah, just might have leaned offside. It doesn't excuse the fact that he missed the target completely from that position. Marcus Thuram usually really clinical from those sorts of positions. Not on that occasion, albeit the flag was up anyway. Scored 2 Champions League goals this season, Marcus Thuram. 12 in all competitions for Inter. His last goal actually came away in Serie A against Sassuolo at the start of the month. Hasn't scored since. He had a goal in his last 3, including last week's first leg. That's nice play by Bodo. Played down the left here to Hogg. Trying to work it through, but the sheer amount of blue and black shirts in the way. Still kept alive. A shoveled was well dispossessed by Barella. A nice space for Inter to break if they can with Bastoni, who just didn't have the pace of it. And I don't know if the referee was going to give a foul here, actually. Maybe Gunderson can get a pull back, but yeah, it's an Inter free kick. But see it here. Esposito laid it off to Bastoni, who was kind of pulled. And that's got Inter a free kick. But again, they can't be a danger, Bodo, albeit Inter can have so much dominance on the ball, but need to be wary of that counter-attack, and players that have already scored and already have confidence on their side, especially on the counter-attack, are not ones to be messed with. Here's a ball for Thuram. Trying to work it into an area. Thuram! And the deflection. Took it over the crossbar. Will be a corner. And a massive chance for Marcus Thuram. Curling towards that far corner. And it come off the back of a Bodo defender. I think it might have been Bjorktoft that had the deflection, but that one was arrowing towards the far corner. Well kept out. And another Inter corner will come. This is corner number 3. All from this right hand side. And all taken by DiMarco. This one short though to Barella. Spins it back to DiMarco, who couldn't get the cross in. Blocked well. And all of that comes all the way back to the Inter goalkeeper Jan Sommer, who's given it away cheaply, but his captain bails him out. Nico Barella trying to poke it through. Couldn't find Marcus Thuram. Nicely closed out by Bjorktoft again. And Gunderson back to his goalkeeper. In terms of that reverse fixture, Last week it was Inter with a lot of the possession, a lot of the shots, but the key factor is Bodo were clinical. 6 of their 8 shots for Bodo last week were on target, compared to just 4 out of 15 for Inter, so mainly a call of lack of accuracy rather than lack of opportunity for Inter. And certainly the opposite for Bodo. Less opportunities, but more clinical when they got them. That was the key. It will certainly be the key tonight in this atmosphere at Sna Siro, where again Inter have started the game like they did last week, dominating the ball and dominating the early opportunities, but not being able to test Heiken too much. 17 minutes gone, Inter 0, Bodo 0, 3-1 to Bodo Glimt on aggregate. So as you can deduce from that, Inter need to win by 2 clear goals to take it level on aggregate, and win by 3 or more clear goals to win the tie outright. Here's Thuram, links on to a loose ball, finds Esposito wide on the left and tried to cross it, well blocked and put out for an Inter throw. And they recovered well again there, Inter, when they looked really Bodo, sorry, when they looked exposed. When Thuram strode onto that ball, there was a lot of space to exploit. But they recovered it well, and Heiken gets on the end of that ball by Zielinski. Zaharov says next 10 minutes will be a goal. Well, Inter have had the momentum and the pressure, but Bodo have been resilient in the way they've been able to fight them off at the moment so far. Well, last week's result was only just the second defeat suffered by an Italian team against a Norwegian opponent in the Champions League or European Cup, after Milan, AC Milan, against Rosenborg back in December 1996. Here come Inter though. Fratesi cuts it back to Di Marco, who lifts a lot in there but overhit completely. And Hogue is hounded by Bisek, and that's going to be a free kick. He's going to do really well there, the winger Haug, and he wins a free kick out of Bisek. He was determined to win the ball back for his team, but ultimately Jan Bisek gives away a free kick deep in the Bodo half, and a little bit of a let off for the Norwegians. Bodo had to ride their luck a little bit to get to this stage of the competition. Ooh, Bastoni there, far from confident clearance. He's looking a little nervous at times, Inter, certainly defensively. When the defenders are on the ball, they're not looking confident. As I was saying, in terms of riding their luck, Bodo, they had all the work to do, really, going into their final 2 Champions League games. I mean, Manchester City and Atleti are not the type of teams you want to be facing, in normal circumstances certainly anyway, when you're outside the top 24 and you desperately want to get a knockout position. Ended up winning both of those games. They're only 2 league phase wins, and finishing in the top 24 on goal difference, by the finest of margins in terms of how close it was. If they had scored 2 less goals over those 2 final games, they wouldn't have made it. Albeit if they'd have won both and still scored 2 less goals, they wouldn't have made it into the top 24, and Marseille would have replaced them. Incredible how narrow that was. And really, each goal did count in the end for Bodo, and how much it meant for them to get to this stage, the knockout stages of the competition. And you got to say, from the way they played in that first leg, they were certainly not giving it up without a fight. In fact, they had to work hard to get to this point. And now they're fighting in the first 21 minutes to keep that advantage and finish the job, really. Here's Haug. Plays it back to Gunderson. Back to Haug. Fett. Back to Gunderson. Having a bit of possession now, Bodo. Bjortuft. Chauvold with the clearance. Haug was the target, but well picked up by Fratesi, who plays it back to Manuel Akanji. Bastoni. Cross to Akanji again, and now Davide Fratesi. Leaves it out to the right hand side for Enrique. Enrique back to Fratesi. Already halfway through the first half here at San Siro. No damage done to the scoreline. That's a lovely touch by DiMarco, and the fired ball by Bastoni had to be directed behind for the corner by the Bodo captain Patrick Berg. You see it here, the first touch by DiMarco, completely wrong foots all the defenders, cuts it back right onto the left foot of Bastoni, who fires it towards the area, and it comes off the Bodo captain Patrick Berg behind for the corner, which it's not DiMarco that's over this one. I think it might be Fratesi. Might be Fratesi, to be honest. Right-footed delivery. Swung towards the area. Bastoni couldn't keep the header down. A lot of headed opportunities so far, Inter. A few for Esposito. That one for Bastoni. They've not really been able to threaten the goalkeeper from those sort of positions. All of them have been well off target, and that one kind of bounced off the head of Bastoni rather than directed by the centre-back, and ultimately goal kick will come. Already have had 5 shots, Inter, 3 on target. Almost reached their total of the whole game last week in terms of their whole attacking threat. But so far, they haven't been able to find a breakthrough, which you got to say is essential for Inter. They can't afford to concede first and make the deficit even more difficult for them. They have to score the first goal and have to use that as a foundation and trying to complete the comeback. But as I said, for Bodo, really, their job is clear. Keep it tight, try and keep Inter out for as long as you can. The longer you do that, the more confidence you will grow into your game. But here's Bisek, beats off a man, cuts it back, cleared away from the edge of the 6-yard box, picked up by Enrique, flicks it back into the area, and a scuffed clearance finds DiMarco, who fires it into the side netting, well wide from that left hand side. But again, even Bisek got himself involved in that one, stretching the pitch and committing extra players forward, and Bisek here, the extra man, just dances towards the 6-yard box, and the rebound is the opposite side. DiMarco, the wing back, who hits the side netting. You gotta say, Bodo have got to have full control of their 18-yard area. They wanted it, thought they got a brick of the ball there, but an Inter player down. It's going to stop the play. Bastoni winning the free kick, according to the referee. Said he was fouled. Our referee this evening, Alejandro Hernandez from Spain. I mean, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. They're both going for the ball. Neither of them get to the ball. I don't think that was a foul. I think it's a little harsh, in my opinion, on Haug. Kasper Haug. I can't pronounce that. I'm trying my best. Here's DiMarco. Barella's ball, well overhit. Applauded though, but overhit. The stand-in captain, who's well worthy of it, Nico Barella. Been through the ups and downs with Inter over the years. League title victories to, I mean, last season's Champions League final thumping against Paris Saint-Germain. So he's had his trials and tribulations. It's probably, you would say, behind Lautaro Martinez, rightfully the man who picks up the armband tonight, 29 years old. He's been there and done it in every real aspect. Here's Enrique down the right, adding the width, and wins the corner off the left back there, Bjorkan. Again, racking up the corners. Their 5th corner of the game already, Inter. But again, it's not about corners, not about shots. It's about finding that opening goal. So far they've struggled. I repeat elsewhere, Leverkusen 0, Olympiacos 0, Leverkusen 2 up from the first leg, so they're 2-0 to the good. And Newcastle 8-1 on aggregate after a 2-0 scoreline tonight, after their 6-1 victory last week. Corner delivered in by DiMarco. The header cleared away by Heiken, who had to get down to his left and did so really well. And now Bodo want to spring away, but couldn't keep a hold of the ball for a second there, as Inter scrambling around the ball and actually give away a foul. Davide Fratesi there. See this corner again, and it's Fratesi with the header at the front post. And it's a really good kind of parry away by Heiken. Beautiful delivery by DiMarco. Great header by Fratesi. And a wonderful save by the Bodo goalkeeper, Nikita Heiken. Fabulous. That's the closest they've come so far. But they continue pushing and pushing. But there seems to be no way through at the moment. Even when they get a glimmer, Inter, just need to stay patient. Keep creating chances like that. Surely one of them is bound to find a way past the Bodo goalkeeper. But they've got to stay patient in their play. Got to stay focused on the task at hand. They can't get carried away by frustration. That's another issue that Inter will have to fend with tonight. The fact that if it doesn't go their way instantly, they can't get disheartened. They can't lose faith. They can't lose motivation. Just need to keep fighting until it does happen. That's got to be the mentality of the Azzurri tonight. They are to progress. And already what we've seen, that combativeness from Bodo. In the first 29 minutes, Inter have got to stay strong. But so have Bodo defensively. Got to ride through this. Inter aren't going to have it all their own way for all 90 minutes. When they get their little chance on the ball, they need to take it too. Here's Zielinski. Bisek creating that extra man again. Now Fratesi to Henrique. Cuts it back to Barella. Barella's cross, and the flick on is over the crossbar by Esposito. Well marshalled by Gunderson. Great cross by Barella. And Esposito diving for this header. And again, he just loops it over the crossbar. I think that's his 3rd headed opportunity of the game so far for Francisco Esposito. He's been unable to really take advantage of any of them. I mean, that's all 3 of his shots have been headers to this point for Francisco Esposito. You gotta say, you know, for the young 20-year-old, who's really having to come in and fill the boots of Lautaro Martinez, it's not an easy task. The Inter's top goal scorer, and certainly a different type of player, definitely. I mean, Lautaro Martinez is more of a kind of in-behind runner, gets physical, gets low, kind of uses pace. Esposito, you kind of feel from what we've already seen, is more of an aerial target, more kind of a target man further forward. That's a lovely ball to DiMarco, who finds the space. Barella takes it in, lays it to Esposito, who cuts it across. Well blocked again. Enrique picks it up on the right hand side, feeds it in behind. Barella back to Enrique, a little bit of space, whips it deep. And again over the head of Thuram, picked up by Dimarco. Fizzed into the area by Bastoni, who overhit it towards his captain in Barella. And out for a goal kick. But I gotta say, every missed opportunity is getting applauded by Nico Barella. That's the sign of a leader. A player who applauds everything his team does, even when it doesn't quite work. Appreciates the effort. That's the type of mentality, as I said, Inter need to have tonight. Bodo are going to fight for everything they've got. And Inter cannot let it get to them. Stolen away from Schovold. Thuram held up by Esposito, but he was brought down, and that's going to be a foul. Too physical there was Justin Gunderson. Yeah, he just caught Esposito with his right foot. Pulled him back in the process. It's definitely a foul. Barella. Fratesi. Back to Akanji. Now Zielinski in the pocket. Oh, lovely from Zielinski. Skipping past a few. Has a goal! Oh, wasn't too far away. Piotr Zielinski there. Did all the nice work. Beautiful footwork. And almost saw the light shining in front of him to say go for it. And he wasn't too far away. I was about to say that he's been quiet so far compared to the other Inter players, Piotr Zielinski. And he almost come up with a great chance there. The experienced Polish midfielder. Actually scored in his last game at San Siro in the 3-2 victory over Juventus on Valentine's Day. He scored the winner in that one in the 90th minute, and what was a ding-dong battle between the two. 1-0 to Inter, 1-1, 2-1 Inter, 2-2, and Zielinski had the final say. Scored the winner. He wasn't too far away from giving into the opener here this evening. Actually has a really good record at home. Piotr Zielinski, Piotr Zielinski, I was making sure I was saying the right name. I was. He scored in each of his last 2 home games, albeit the other goal was a penalty against Pisa in a 6-2 victory. That was to open the scoring for Inter when they were 2-0 down in that game. Zielinski got the opener from the spot before Martinez, Esposito, Dimarco, Boni and Mkhitaryan all added their names to the score sheet for a 6-2 win. So he pops up with important goals, Piotr Zielinski. And important games. Well, this is certainly an important game, as that ball was straight the way through to Heiken. Barella thought he was fouled by Schovold, but the referee said no. Schovold got all ball, although he didn't. You gotta say, Barella was letting go of the ball, got rid of it. And Schovold just kind of caught him there with in the right foot of Barella, but a little soft, in my opinion. Understandable why the referee didn't give it. Well, they've hit double figures. Inter 10 shots. 4 of them on target, though, so their accuracy's kind of dropped. Only 1 shot on target of their last 5 efforts. And Heiken's taking his time as the referee counts down the numbers. And of course, that's the new rule in football. We don't really see it very often, but if a goalkeeper holds the ball for more than 8 seconds, and it's a automatic corner to the opposing team. Here's Hauge on the left hand side, trying to dribble. Works it to the right hand side. Schovold whips it in. The header is into the hands of Sommer, who had to dive for that. Good header by Blomberg. That's their first chance of the game for Bodo. Their first shot of the night, and it wasn't too far away. Jan Sommer had to make a good save out of that one. That's what I said about Bodo. Inter won't have it all their own way all night. Albeit they've dominated this game, but there will be an opportunity here and there for Bodo to break away and carve out a chance of their own. It's about being clinical. Here's Bisek. Feeds it in behind, beautifully weighted. Just nicked away by from Fratesi. He wants a corner and is going to get a corner, I believe. Beautiful ball by Bisek and well defended as we see Chauvel's cross off the head of... It wasn't actually Blomberg. They showed us the wrong player there. It was actually number 26, Hakan Evjen, with the opportunity. Here's DiMarco from the short corner. Finds it to Bisek. DiMarco on the left. Goes... Cross was low and the deflection will be taken in by Hakan, who kept it in play. The Inter players wanted it to be a corner. Felt they carried up behind, but officials said no. And Hakan keeps a hold of the ball. That's another thing about tonight's game. The officials will have a lot of questions to be asked. Inter will be fighting and going for everything and will be constantly in the referee's ear, but gotta say the referee's been quite assertive so far. Not having any of it from the hosts. As we get very close to half time. It's flew by this first half. 7.5 minutes to go with the first period. And no damage done to Bodo's lead, which they took into this game. 3-1 it remains on aggregate after a goalless first 37.5 minutes. Despite the Inter dominance of over 70% of the ball, 11 shots, over 6 corners, they haven't been able to breach to this point. As I said, the longer it goes on at this rate, the more frustrated Inter will become and more confident Bodo will become. At this task will become much more dramatic. Here come Bodo. They've broke away, but a little bit of a short ball there was nicely intercepted by Enrique, driving back towards his natural position. I gotta say, Inter haven't played much of their back five so far because of there's so much of the ball. A lot of the time it's probably been a back one. Manuel Akanji practically on his own back there with Bastoni and Bisek, the other two centre backs, just charging forward to be kind of create a man overload in the wide areas along with the wing backs, and committed so many bodies forward in there and yet haven't been able to reach a breakthrough. And if they end up going to half time at 0-0, Christian Chivu will have a lot to say to his players, but I think the key thing will be just keep pushing. You are getting closer, Inter, and when you do find that opener, you kind of have to use it quickly and build upon it, not allow the opponent to really kind of resettle into the game. As Bastoni there gives away a free kick, commits a foul, and Blomberg wins it. Again, really nicely done by Bodo. Kind of eking out the ball, gets it away. There was no pass on, but Blomberg knew that if the ball was gone and he was caught, it was going to be a free kick, and that it was. Frustration bubbling over for Inter as they wanted a foul a little earlier. That wasn't given. That's not going to add to the enjoyment of the first half from these Inter Milan players. A reminder for you, we've another huge game for you tomorrow night in the Champions League. A lot's been made of the Real Madrid-Benfica tie in terms of off the field and all the drama that's come around that game, but hopefully we can put that out of our minds and focus solely on football tomorrow night at the Bernabeu. Real Madrid lead by a goal to nil heading into that game, but can Benfica pull off the comeback for Jose Mourinho's team? We will see. That's tomorrow, 8 o'clock on LFS, including a couple of other key ties that will be in action tomorrow, including Juventus Galatasaray. What a job Juve have on their hands. A 5-2 deficit from the first leg. Can they come back against at their Turkish opponents, who have done a number on a couple of big teams this season, Galatasaray, and a battle between PSG and Monaco that isn't done and dusted just yet. PSG take a 3-2 lead into the game, but it is still quite tight, and it's not done and dusted just yet. We'll see how it shakes out as the champions take on Monaco at the Parc des Princes tomorrow evening. Well, they want a corner here, Inter. They actually want a handball against Patrick Berg. We'll see this again. Fratesi. Oh. Yeah, I think Berg gets a bit lucky there because his arm was up in the air, but it kind of hits his underneath, under his armpit. Fratesi quickly says it was his arm, but VAR checked it, cleared it, said it was his armpit, and that is just a corner. I gotta say, there's nothing. I mean, if that was given, then we all just pack up and go home. It's never a penalty. Federico Di Marco to take the corner again. Left-footed delivery. It's deep. It's punched away by Heiken. Drops to Enrique. Zielinski just gets rid of it there as he was under pressure. Barella chops it forward towards Di Marco, but well cut out by the Bodo defence once more, but well pounced upon by Barella, the loose ball. Di Marco with a flick. But again, hounded all the way as Barella goes down, wanting a penalty. And the cross continued in, was cleared away. Zielinski. Now Bisek. No let off here for Bodo. Zielinski's cross. Up in the air. Tucham couldn't get a second touch to it. Drops to Di Marco, who clears it over the crossbar. Well, they'll have another look at this. Barella felt he was fouled. He went down. He went down a little bit easily there, Barella. I think it was a little bit theatrical. Yeah, that's definitely not a penalty. Felt the contact was going to go down anyway and kind of threw himself to the floor there, the Inter captain. Yeah, you can see the way he kind of falls. He kind of uses his momentum to throw himself down rather than anything else. Definitely not a penalty. Great challenge. Great tackle. I mean, it's horrendously obvious. I think they need to sign him up for some acting classes. Or some swimming lessons, maybe. Some diving lessons. He's going to be more convincing, Nico Barella. There was contact, but again, nowhere near a penalty. Bisek, lovely skill on the ball. Again, couldn't find a gap big enough to squeeze that pass through. That's one thing Bodo have been, albeit they've given up the areas wide. Allowed crosses in, but you got to say Inter not been able to really penetrate through the middle. They've kept it really tight and compact. Albeit Inter have whipped a lot of crosses in. Just haven't been able to find that right opportunity from those wide areas. Into the last minute of the first 45, we remain goalless on the night. 3-1 to Bodo Glimt on aggregates. Here's Bisek. Couldn't again find the breakthrough from that through ball, but hoofed away by Bodo. Again, it's attack v defence, but the attack is not on top at the moment. It's the defence of Bodo Glimt that are shining through, but can they get it all the way to half-time at this rate? Again, nicely intercepted by Zielinski. Again, scrambled clear by Bodo. Picked up by Akanji. Now Enrique. How long will be added on at the end of the half? Just the one added minute. It's pretty fair. It's been a free-flowing game. I gotta say, a pretty good first half, but Inter haven't been able to break through. Bastoni's faint the ball in behind. Zielinski picks up the loose one. Barella, can they nick it just before the half? Zielinski won't get another go there. Shoveled with a clearance. A little chink here for Hulk to get onto it. And space here for them to break forward, Bodo, if they can snatch this right at the end of the half. Hulk wide. Ball bouncing down. It's Evian who was taken out. The referee said it was clear challenge by Barella, who breaks away with the ball now for Inter. Now Di Marco, last few seconds of the half. Plays it back to Bastoni. This is the last chance of the half if they get another opportunity. Bisek, referee says play on for the moment. Enrique's delivery towards Thuram. Up and away by Gunderson. And that is going to call an end to the first half at San Siro. The first half that Inter have dominated in all areas. But the scoreline is the key one. And at the moment, Bodo Glimt are more than holding strong and holding firm. They've had a number of chances to fend away. Their goalkeepers had to be on top as well. But I gotta say, Inter are not having it all their own way, albeit 12 shots, over 70% possession. But at this moment in time, they are facing an incredible Norwegian defence that are not allowing anything to find a way past them. Half time, it's Inter 0, Bodo Glimt 0. Bodo lead 3-1 in aggregates. Sure, one last kick. This is gonna be it. This is the moment. Vicario kicks this. And Liverpool are there. Liverpool are Premier League champions. And there it comes. Crystal Palace, for the very first time in their history, are FA Cup winners. Oh, he's found the net. Oh, what a goal! Kvaratskhelia is through, wants to add a fourth, and does so. Ahmad, oh my goodness me! That is absolutely unbelievable. Rice again. Oh! You thought he couldn't beat the first one. He's gone and bettered it. Another whip ball in. The header is in by Virgil van Dijk. Incredible. Welcome back to Champions League Live halftime at Sna Siro. It is Inter nil, Bodo Glimt nil on the night, but Bodo lead by 3-1 on aggregate in the tie. So, as it stands, Bodo would be on course for that upset, but will they be able to get there right the way to the finish after what has been a pretty positive first half, you've got to say, albeit without the goal for Inter, but they have been all over Bodo, but haven't been able to find the breakthrough as of yet, and that will be a big task for Christian Chivu's side in the second half. Already, one side has booked their place into the round of 16 after their knockout playoff tie. Atletico Madrid are the first team to progress after a 4-1 home victory against Club Brugge on the evening, a 7-4 aggregate victory, albeit after a 3-3 draw in the return, the first leg between the sides. You got to say, Alexander Sorloth stepping up to the plate with a hat-trick tonight for Atletico, but it didn't start that easily. Sorloth did give them the lead, but Ordonez got them back level for Club Brugge, who made it 4-4 in aggregate into half-time. So a pretty close tie going into the second period, but ultimately they stepped to another level, Atleti, and progress. Cardoso with a goal inside 3 minutes of the second half gave Atleti the lead on the night and in the tie before Sorloth added his second and his third for Inter's third and fourth to take the tie completely away from Club Brugge and to put them to the sword ultimately. So Atleti are through as it stands. So this is based on the scorelines as they are at half-time. Bayer Leverkusen will be joining them after what is a goalless first half there in Leverkusen. Olympiacos have a 2-goal deficit to try and overcome from a 2-0 defeat at their home last week against Leverkusen, but is goalless at the break, so still within a shout there. But at the moment, if it stays as it is, Leverkusen will be going through. Inter will be going out as it stands away at Bodo Glimt after that 3-1 victory for Bodo last week, so it's goalless there. And Newcastle, very much no doubt they are going through against Karabakh, an 8-1 aggregate lead for Newcastle at half-time, a 2-goal lead on the night for them, and both of those goals came inside the first 6 minutes. Sandro Tonali and Joe Linton with the 2 goals for Newcastle United. They are sailing their way through to the round of 16. Tomorrow night, Atalanta will host Borussia Dortmund, Galatasaray will head to Juventus, PSG will take on Monaco, and Real Madrid will face Benfica. So, to really tell you what all this means for the teams, this is the possible path to the round of 16. So we know Atleti are through, and they will play either Liverpool or Tottenham in the round of 16, and the winners of the other tie. So this is basically the centre teams are the 8 teams that have already progressed to the round of 16 via their league phase finish, and the other teams, opposite sides, are the teams that are in the in the knockout playoff ties. So Atleti have progressed from theirs, so they're on the left-hand side. Either Juventus or Galatasaray, whatever one wins that one, those 2 winners will play Liverpool or Tottenham. That will be decided in the draw on Friday. So there is a somewhat known to who will play who come the round of 16. So possibly it will be definitely an English team for Atletico. Whether it will be Liverpool or Tottenham, we will find out on Friday. And the other team that doesn't get Atleti will get either Juventus or Galatasaray. It's really simple, but it looks really complicated. But the winner of Bayer Leverkusen, Olympiacos, and Atalanta and Borussia Dortmund will face Arsenal or Bayern Munich. One will get one will get the other, of course. And the same all the way through. The possibilities of some interesting matchups could be possible. If Borussia Dortmund go through in their tie, they could face, of course, big rivals in the Der Klassiker, Bayern Munich. There could be a Bayern Munich, Bayer Leverkusen link up as well there. Arsenal could be facing Borussia Dortmund again, which would be a key battle as well. Manchester City could still possibly face Real Madrid come the round of 16. That is a possible matchup. And of course, our tie will see the winner of our tie will play either Sporting or Manchester City in the round of 16. And look at this for a tough task. Newcastle will be guaranteed to play either Barcelona or Chelsea in the round of 16. Not an easy round of 16 tie for Newcastle, who are very much surely heading through in their tie. And of course PSG or Monaco will get the other team when it comes to the round of 16. So no easy games really in the round of 16, you gotta say. No easy ties, but that is what the knockout stages of the Champions League are all about. And we will see what it all means on Friday. Because we will have the round of 16 draw, the results of which will be released on Friday, and that will create a path, a bracket, to the final. Who will be facing who will be on what side of the bracket, and potential opponents for each and every team right up until the final at the end of May. And the round of 16 that will be drawn, of course, on Friday. The first legs will be played Tuesday the 10th and Wednesday the 11th of March, and the return legs Tuesday the 17th and Wednesday the 18th of March for the round of 16. So only a few weeks away there too. Not long to wait for the next stage of this competition. But before all that, we need to decide which of these other 7 ties will be progressing. Which of these other teams will be progressing? 1 down, 7 still to be decided, and 3 of which are still to be decided tonight. But a big second half in all 3 of our games that are still underway on the way next. Do stay with us. Welcome back to Champions League Live, second half at San Siro on the way in just a second as the players emerge from the tunnel, the very famous San Siro tunnel. And you got to say, a huge second half for the home side, Inter, who, as I said, made it all the way to the final last year, but are 45 minutes away from being knocked out at the first hurdle of the knockout stages. And a tough hurdle it has been for them to try and overcome. But a massive 45 minutes on the horizon for the hosts. Can they find a way through? And if they do, can they add to that pretty quickly? That's what will be needed. You've got to say, if they get an early goal at the start of this second half, they will start believing pretty quickly. But as the whole way the first half went on, the longer it stayed goalless, the more frustrated they seemed to get into. The more tough it will become for Bodo to try and keep it level. But that's what they've got to at least do until the very latter stages of this game, and make sure they don't throw it away. That's the important factor. Make Inter work for it. That's what they've got to do. And they've made them work for what they've been able to get so far, which is a few chances, but no goals. But the Azzurri will be one hell of a force in this second half, surely. And if Bodo Glimt's job was hard before, it's probably going to get even harder for the next 45 minutes. Back underway, though, here at San Siro. As I said, big venues create big moments. There's probably very few more iconic than San Siro to deliver a special night, albeit usually for the home team in question, either AC Milan or Inter. But if they can pull it off, Bodo, they will be heroes in their home country, becoming the first Norwegian team ever in the round of 16 of the Champions League, but also a team that's seen off Manchester City, Atletico Madrid and Inter Milan over 2 legs. I mean, that will be some feat. And a feat they're only 45 minutes away from completing. And as I said, it's going to be an incredibly tough task in the second half, because Inter have got nothing to lose. They have to go all out. But as I said, they get an early goal in this second half, Inter, you really will feel the full force of this home crowd. Bastoni, Di Marco, Bastoni chips forward, finds Marcus Thuram. The left channel, but Thuram was dispossessed and then got the ball back. Esposito on the half turn. Plays it to Bissekou. Heads it along the line to Enrique. Lots of bodies chasing for the ball. Enrique bursts down the right, tries to chip it across and looped up and into Heiken's hands. The Bodo Glimt goalkeeper. Again, really didn't test them enough there, really. Inter promising position and lots of bodies charging towards the area. And none of them could get anywhere near that cross from the right wing back, Luis Henrique. Evian, he's rattling his way against Fratesi, and he wins the free kick there. The midfielder, Hakon Evian, who had their best chance of the game for Bodo. Their only shot of the game was from the midfielder. Now, we have a goal at St James's Park. Quite a rarity in this tie. We have our 10th goal of the tie, and it has been scored by the visitors at St James's Park. Qarabag have scored. Now, I'm not going to say they've got a goal back because that is very optimistic by anybody's imagination, but Camilo Duran has got the goal set up by Montiel, and it is Newcastle 2, Qarabag 1 on the night. 8-2 to Newcastle on aggregates. Switch ball targeted for DiMarco, well under hit. Shovold was there to intercept. Poked away by Berg, but he's given it away to Zielinski. He now finds DiMarco breaking in behind. Wanted a foul, gets a foul. And it's not much contact there from, I think that was Gunderson. He does kind of throw him down there. It's Bjortoft actually. And it is a free kick. Think of the opportunities from open play. They've created a lot. Inter set pieces, they've really struggled from really creating very much. They've had quite a number of corners without real much joy. 7 corners. Their best came in for the Tazy's header, was well cleared away by Heiken. That was their best from a set piece, but this a free kick from around 28 yards, 27 yards possibly. So a long range out. Well, within shooting range though. Barella and DiMarco over it. It is DiMarco left-footed and well taken in by Heiken, who got right behind the ball. Again, whipped round the wall, curling towards the bottom right corner. But Heiken watched it all the way and had full unadulterated control of that one. Another goal at St James's Park, and if you thought Qarabag's attempt to make it a respectable game on the night didn't last very long. It is 3-1 to Newcastle. They've restored their 2-goal lead and their incredible 7-goal advantage in the tie. It is 9-2 on aggregate. Sven Botman with the 3rd Newcastle goal of the night, and they are on the verge of double figures in terms of aggregate score. Our Newcastle. We've still a lot of the second half to go. DiMarco plays it out to the left for Barella. Nico Barella into the box, cuts it back to Bastoni, whips it in with the left foot. Header is over the bar by Fratesi. Again, crosses whipped in, and lack of threat on the end of those crosses from Inter. 25 crosses, I think that was their 26th cross of the night. Only 8 of them have been accurate. That would have been 9 out of 26, so similar to a 30% ratio. And they've not really been able to carve out an incredible chance out of a cross as of yet. But as I say, a long way to go. 51 minutes gone. As I said, they can't afford to be frustrated tonight, Inter. Hold on a second. The referee's just paused the game for a moment. Oh, there's an issue there for Manuel Akanji, who's got blood just on his eye there as he kind of headed the ball away and caught the back of the head of Blomborg. Yeah, the Norwegian doesn't do much wrong there, but draws blood out of the upper eye, upper left eye of Manuel Akanji, so he's going to get dealt with off the pitch, which means they're down to 10 on the field, Inter, for the moment, while Manuel Akanji gets himself all fixed up. Bisek, Henrique dribbles it through. Bisek back to Henrique. Nice play. Henrique finds it to DiMarco. Space on the left. Bodies the target. Back post. The cross. And Thuram was trying to follow it in, but well seen away by Bjortuft. Again, Fratesi was the target. Fratesi's ball struck across goal, and Thuram trying to follow in. But Bjortuft put it behind for the corner. Fratesi's the real threat for Inter, especially in the second half. DiMarco to take the corner. Still without Akanji. DiMarco's delivery. Bisek's header, and the follow-up is plucked out of the air by Heiken, just ahead of Esposito. You see that ball? Great strike by Fratesi. He was well off target. And Bjortuft got there ahead of the following in Marcus Thuram. Continuing to create a handful of chances as Manuel Akanji patched up, wants to come back onto the field, hasn't been waved back on yet. The referee does wave him back on eventually. There's Bodo in possession here. His team need him at the moment. Gunderson on the halfway line, plays it across the Shoveled. Fett not able to progress the ball forward there. Bodo. Oh, a little bit loose in possession there, given away to Marcus Thuram, who's free one-on-one. Well, stopped by Bjortuft, who recovered fantastically there. Gotta say, poor play by the midfielder there. I'm not too sure who that was. I think it might be Bjorken. But he gives it away, and it's pounced upon by Marcus Thuram, charging through, and he gets the better of Bjortuft initially. But the defender reacts really well, gets back well, forces the corner. DiMarco to take, left-footed delivery, headed down by Akanji, and fierced away. Back to DiMarco though it comes, whips in again, and a pounce in the middle, and the free kick's actually going to go the way of the visitors here. Going to be a free kick to Bodo. Bastoni not too happy. See this again. So Akanji's header brought down, thumped away. They were checking for a possible handball. Off Shoveled. Nah, there's nothing in that. They talk about desperate. They're desperate for something. I mean, Shoveled, that's not a handball. Never in a million years. And the rebound ultimately comes for a Bodo free kick. And VAR checking and clearing for the second time tonight, checking a possible penalty for Inter, but rightfully discarded like the previous. And you can understand why Inter are desperate to get a penalty. They need something to go their way at the moment. Need a little bit of luck to help them along the line, but they've got to dig it out from somewhere. At the moment, Bodo are doing an incredible job keeping Inter at bay, and everything that's being thrown at them, they are rebounding right back at their opponents, saying there's no way through. Another goal at St James's Park, full of goals tonight at St James's Park. It's the 5th goal of the night, the 12th goal of the tie, and it is another one for Qarabağ. Here determined to make this a closer game in the second leg than the first definitely was. It is Newcastle 3, Qarabağ 2, and the Jafar Gulyav, who scored the only goal of the tie of the first leg for Qarabağ, he's got the second of the night for the visitors, after Jankovic had a penalty saved and Jafar Galayev was there to follow it up. And it is Newcastle 3, Karabag 2, albeit it's 9-3 in aggregate, so well past competitive, that game. Certainly an intriguing goals galore game. Unlike the other two ties, which are locked at 0-0. Leverkusen 0, Olympiacos 0. Leverkusen, of course, don't need to score. As long as Olympiacos don't score, they don't need to. They're 2 goals up on aggregate. Leverkusen look like they're going to see their way through to the round of 16, but trying their best, Olympiacos. But actually only had 5 shots in the game, 3 for Leverkusen, 2 for Olympiacos, so probably not the most enjoyable game to watch at the moment. But it is Leverkusen who, as at the moment, are progressing. And here in Milan, it is Inter who will be knocked out, and Bodo Glimt who will be heading through as it stands, unless Inter can pluck at least 2 goals. Oh, they've given it away. Bodo were in. Chance! Deflected and found the nets. And a mistake from Inter is pounced upon by Hauge, and Bodo Glimt take the lead on the night. And the Norwegians take the lead on the night. A 3-goal lead on aggregates. And Inter's night has just gone from bad to worse, and much more difficult to try and stay in this competition. Manuel Akanji absolutely toying with the ball on the edge of his own box. Criminal behaviour. Hauge is the one that finishes it. It was Blomberg that picked it up. He forced the save out of Jan Sommer, but the deflection into Hauge's path, who wasn't going to miss from that sort of range, into an empty net. And it is Inter 0, Bodo Glimt 1 on the night. And Bodo lead by 4-1 on aggregates. Punished have Inter been, and rightfully so. What on earth was Manuel Akanji thinking? And again, another incredible moment in this tie. Hauge wasn't sure whether he could celebrate or not, but we've got back underway and he does a little celebration. My goodness me. Surely we're seeing history in the Champions League once again. Inter Milan have had all the dominance, all the control, all the chances. Haven't been able to find a way through. And with only their second shot of the game, sorry, their third shot of the game, apologies, Bodo Glimt add to their lead in this tie. Not only going through as it stands by stopping Inter on home turf, but doing it in both legs as it stands is incredible. Now Inter need 4 straight goals without reply to progress on the night, as Esposito's flashed effort well wide of the goal. You gotta say, I mean, it's all of their own doing, really. I mean, it's horrendous by Manuel Akanji. And there's a man who is missed in this Inter team tonight, and you can probably tell, Lautaro Martinez. And you gotta say, was his injury really, I don't want to completely discredit what Bodo have done, because they've been unbelievable. But you gotta say, Lautaro Martinez was subbed off in the 61st minute of the first leg, and within 3 minutes of that, Bodo went from 1-1 in the tie to 3-1 up. And without him at all tonight, they find themselves 1-0 down at home, Inter, needing to win by 3 clear goals coming into this evening's tie. They need to win by 4 clear goals as it stands. And that is quite a feat for the Norwegians. And they're going for more. Shovald, whip ball round the back is a chance. Right down the throat of Jan Sommer. Another beautiful delivery by Shovald. And Hauge again was in. And his shot this time stopped by Jan Sommer. My goodness me. 30 minutes. Just short. away from history. Gunnarsson got absolutely clattered there by Esposito. Accidental, nonetheless, but see this horror. I mean, I can't actually rationalise what Manuel Akanji was trying to do. There was not a teammate anywhere near him. Anywhere near him. And that's going to see Christian Chivu ring out the changes. A triple change. We will inform you of those because they all came at once there and I couldn't actually see all the names. So, a triple change for Inter. But my goodness. This is the Champions League. Fantastic. Last season's finalists are currently, as it stands, being knocked out by a team that have never, ever reached the round of 16 before. This is the furthest they've been in this competition. In their history, in their country's history. And they will be regarded as national heroes, I'm sure. Those Bodo players. You love a superstar story. You love something like this in the Champions League. A real mountain of a football club with lots of history in this competition. In Inter. One of the real pillars of European football, but they're playing around with fun here. Bodo and Berg almost made the cross again. It's Akanji that blocks it behind for the corner, but they're being freed of that threat of Inter's pressure and are playing with real fun here, Bodo. And Patrick Berg, well stopped by Manuel Akanji, but it's a Bodo Glimt corner. Their first of the night. After 9 successive Inter corners, Bodo have their first of the evening. And it will be their captain, Patrick Berg, to take. 7 Bodo players in the box. Berg, right-footed delivery. Cleared away at the front post. Bounces down, and this shot is well over the crossbar by Hauge. And let's talk about Jens Petter Hauge, the 26-year-old Norwegian. You've got to say, when we mention Norway, there's only one player that ever gets mentioned. Probably 2 players. You've got to say Martin Ødegaard and Erling Haaland, really. But you've got to say these are real, true Norwegian heroes. These players. And Hauge joined Bodo Glimt after a loan spell from Eintracht Frankfurt. He joined the club in January of 2025. For just over £3 million after being, and actually does have history with Sna Siro because he played for AC Milan, joined for £4.5 million in October 2020 before being loaned out to Eintracht Frankfurt before they bought him on permanent deal. So he does have history with this stadium, Jens Petter Hauge. And if we go back to that, he scored 2 Serie A goals and 3 Europa League goals for AC Milan. At the moment, I think the AC Milan supporters will remember a former player who is helping his team defeat AC rivals Inter. Oh, look at this from Evian. Clears it away. And I gotta say, 25 minutes to go in this game. And Inter, at the moment, haven't really responded to going behind. I gotta say, it's been really lackluster from the hosts. It's been 7 minutes since the Hauge goal. And Inter haven't really offered much of a response. We need to hurry up. Barella. Nice little 1-2. Bisek. Again, couldn't really help it out. And now they come on the break here, Bodo. Once again, it's Akanji in close proximity. But Bjerken progresses and feeds it back in the midfield. I can tell you the interchanges, by the way. Fratesi, Enrique and Zielinski all off. Boni, Diouf and Sucic all on for Inter. And that triple change, an attempt by Christian Chivu to give his team something that they haven't had so far, and that is a clinical edge in the final third. Not really had it the whole way through the tie. You know, if we count up the shots from the first and the second leg so far, Inter doesn't make good reading. 15 shots in the whole of the first leg. They've had 21 already tonight. That's 36 shots, and they've scored just 1 goal in the tie. Compare that to Bodo Glimt, who've had 5 shots tonight and had 8 shots in the last game, and they scored 4 goals from those calculated 13 shots. Incredible. Inter free kick here. DiMarco, left-footed delivery. Up and over the top by Bjorktuft. Behind for another corner. Again, they will be haunted by corners, Inter. This is number 12. Corner number 12. Everything, I have to say, everything to this point that Inter have thrown at Bodo Glimt, they've been well matched. DiMarco's delivery headed well wide by Caoimhan, but I think it took a deflection on the way through. Bastoni was also in the mix. It was on the floor after that moment. Corner number 13. Keep racking up the corners, but they need goals. And with a quarter of this game to go, DiMarco whips it in. Again, Bisek was the target, but again cleared away. Barella, DiMarco, back to Nico Barella. Flicks it over the top, DiMarco fires it back across. Akanji! Oh, off the inside of the post. And cleared away and behind for a goal kick. My goodness me. We'll see this again. Beautiful delivery by Barella over the top to find DiMarco. He cuts it back to Manuel Akanji, trying to make up for his mistake. And as he makes the shot with his right foot, spins off the inside of the left post. And then a reactionary kind of palm away by Heiken. And has it seen cleared behind for a goal kick. But goodness me. When things like that happen, when a shot comes off the inside of the post and out, you got to then question whether luck's on your side and whether anything's on your side tonight. It would have been poetic that Manuel Akanji, who made the mistake for the Bodo Glimt goal, would have been the one to tie it back up again and get Inter back on level pegging, but ultimately the post wasn't helping him out. Barella feeds it to DiMarco. First time ball. Bonnie cuts it back on his right foot. DiMarco absolutely fired the left through that one, but skied over the crossbar. Again, nice skill by Anguillon Bonnie. Cuts it back for DiMarco, and DiMarco skied it over the bar. And I gotta say, Christian Chivu applauding his team's efforts, but I mean, does it deserve applause? No, not really. Bonnie wins the throw-in down the left-hand side for Inter. DiMarco. Back to Bastoni. Into Barella. Back to Sucic. Back to Akanji. Now down the the right-hand side, sorry. Comes Bisek. Elsewhere it remains, as we last told you, Leverkusen 0, Olympiacos 0 on the night. Leverkusen lead by 2-0 on aggregate, and it's Newcastle 3, Karabag 2 on the night. High scoring game. It's been a high scoring tie all the way through. 12 goals over the 2 legs so far between the two, but 9 of those 12 have gone the way of Newcastle. They lead by 9-3 on aggregate, so no question of it might look tight on the night, but it is very much a one-sided affair in that tie. DiMarco. Flicked over the top looking for the run of Bonnie, but well tracked by Shovold, and Bjortuft was there to intercept and actually plays it off well to Hug. And now movement incoming. Hauge works it into the middle. Here's a chance, and there's another goal. Beautiful from Bodo Glimt. It's Evian this time, and it's 2-0 on the night. I have to say, take a bow, because that is one hell of a finish, and this is one hell of a Champions League tie unfolding in front of our eyes. Absolutely incredible. Beautiful play to the right hand side, and it's Hauge's cross. He finished the first. This time turns provider, whips it in, taken beautifully by Evian, sets it up for the strike into the far corner. Jan Sommer has absolutely no chance. Wonderful. And Evian with a wonderful finish doubles Bodo's lead on the night and extends their aggregate advantage to 5-1. Absolutely sensational. Incredible. And the Bodo bench going nuts. Head and hands for Inter, but heads above the clouds for Bodo Glimt. Magical moments. His first goal of the campaign for Evian, but what a goal to take. And that is surely going to seal it, because Inter haven't looked like scoring 1 goal tonight. Never mind, they need 5, or at least 4, to take it to extra time. But this has been perfection on the road from Bodo Glimt. Still have 17 minutes to play. The whole of the first half they made sure there was no way through for Inter. And on the second, they've taken 1 or 2 extra risks, and they have benefited massively from those extra little risks. And I did say, started the night by saying, Inter won't have it all their own way. When Bodo get chances, they need to take them. And they have done that tonight. They've had 6 shots. 5 of those 6 shots have been on target. And they've scored 2 goals. Away from home, at Sna Siro. All the pressure of trying to keep this tie alive, to make sure that Inter can't pull off the comeback. Well, 2 goals without reply from Inter on the night will definitely help you in doing that. Hauge with the first, Evian with the second, and we are witnessing history. Champions League delivers up another unbelievable tie. And no one, when this was drawn out at the end of the league phase, no one, I'm sure, other than Bodo Glimt fans and maybe some optimistic Norwegian fans, would have said that Bodo would have dominated Inter like this. I don't think anybody would have believed the way this game and this tie has gone. Here's Sucic, blocked again. I mean, it's you can kind of feel that they're starting to feel Inter that nothing is going their way tonight. A miscue followed up by an incredible block. And Sucic, his body language there just showed that no matter what they do, it's not going to fall for them tonight. And you gotta say, that's the risks you take. You don't show up over 2 legs. My goodness me. Another corner. DiMarco. He will be haunted by corners, I have to say. Federico DiMarco after this. 15 corners. Here it is, and headed in by Bisek. Followed up. Is it over the line? It is. And they've got one back, Inter. I think it's Manuel Akanji's header that forces it over the line. Something to celebrate. The referee points to the watch to say it had crossed the goal line. And now the task is a little bit easier, but it is still a mountain for Inter to try and climb. DiMarco's delivery, it's Bisek with the first header. It's actually cleared away. Bonnie tried to poke it over the line. He cleared it across to Heiken. over the head of Hike, and it dropped for Bastoni. See this again. I don't know whether... And Heiken had just maybe caught it after it had crossed the line and then carried it back inside the pitch. But nonetheless, the watch doesn't lie, and Inter have got a goal. And that is Inter 1, Bodo Glimt 2 on the night. But it is still 5-2 to Bodo on aggregate. Still a long way back for the hosts. But maybe, with the goal, maybe they'll believe something is on their side eventually. They've got 13 minutes to pull off the impossible. Akanji. Bastoni. Alessandro Bastoni. Dribbling forward, plays it to DiMarco. DiMarco's cross. Up and away at the back post. And Huga further clears. And now, can they break away again, Bodo? And restore this lead. Akanji 1v1. Does much better that time, Manuel Akanji. Wrestles his man away, and Bastoni plays it to Diouf. That was a little better from Manuel Akanji. And has the tide of this game turned a little bit? Barella's switch ball. Chested down by DiMarco. Left-footed delivery, it's deep. Oh, all the way through past everyone there, but it comes out to Diouf on the right-hand side. Diouf. Back post too much towards DiMarco. Goal kick. And Alessandro Bastoni, his first Champions League goal of the season. Might just be the most inconsequential goal, if this ends as it does. Because right now, all it does is try to give Inter any sort of chance. But to put it into perspective, they're losing 2-1 at the moment, Inter. They need to win, if I can work this out quickly, they need to win 4-2 on the night, as it stands, or something of that equivalent factor. To take it to extra time, they need to win 5-2 on the night, or the equivalent, to go through automatically. Anything other than that, less than that, they will be out. So they could still win the tie on the night, Inter, and still not go through. But as we see the goal line technology, it is probably half an inch over the line. But over the line it is, and that's a goal. The watch said so. The goal line technology proves so. And as Inter 1, Bodo Glimt 2 on the night, but Bodo lead 5-2 on aggregates. Ball to the left-hand side for Bodo. Trying to keep a hold of this on the night lead, which will be even more historic. Sucic. Switch down the left-hand side. Inter on the move again. Boni. He's got DiMarco for help. Boni trying to dribble his way through on his own. Beats past his man, looking for the cutback. Berg was there to put it behind for the corner. Well, as I said, Bodo Glimt are looking to become the first Norwegian side to progress in a knockout stage tie in the Champions League or European Cup since Lillestrøm in the first round in the 1987-88 campaign against Northern Irish side Linfield. There's a header well wide of the target there by Thuram. But in terms of the Champions League, no one from Norway has ever gone through a knockout stage. There's more changes. Carlos Augusto and Denzel Dumfries are going to be coming on for Inter. And Bisek and DiMarco are off, so I believe that changes them from a back three, which is so kind of deeply Inter Milan. They're going to go to a back four, which is unusual for the home team. And Bodo's second scorer is going to be replaced by Saltnes. Evian with the second goal, and Saltnes some experience to try and carry his team over the line. Ulrik Saltnes, the 33-year-old Norwegian. He's been a Bodo Glimt player right from the youth and has been a first-team player for the last 14 years, since January 2012 when he officially joined the first team for Bodo from the youth team. And he has been a Bodo player right the way through. Incredible. And he, like a lot of his teammates, will be history makers for Norwegian football if it stays as it is for the next 8 to 10 minutes possibly. Winners at Sna Siro for 1, and winners over a two-legged tie for Inter for 2. And remember, Bodo Glimt are also looking to become the first team from outside of Europe's Big 5 leagues to win 4 consecutive games in the European Cup or UEFA Champions League campaign against opponents from those leagues. England, Spain, Germany, Italy and France, of course the so-called top 5 European leagues, since Ajax did it in 1971-72 and they won the European Cup that season. I mean, getting carried away with that stat a little bit, but that's the truth. Bastoni, Augusto to Barella, who had a heavy first touch there and that was cleared away by Shovald. Bastoni. I mean, I think at this point Inter know that it's a tall order. I mean, it was a tall order when they conceded. They went 2-0 down, it got even more difficult, but the fact they got a goal back is something. They need more than something. They need quite a lot. At the minute, not showing a lot. Well, Inter, who, as I said, faced the 2-goal deficit coming into this game from the first leg. They've only won by 2+ goals in 6 of their 52 matches in the knockout stages of the Champions League, and have never won a game by 3+ goals in the knockout stages of the competition. They needed a 3+ lead out of tonight's game to qualify automatically. It looks like history once again is going to beckon for Bodo, but it is also going to go against Inter Milan. Mata picks it up high up the field as Bodo want to push for another if they could. Bit of foul here given. A pull by Hauge. It's going to see Inter get a free kick. Well, speaking of Jens Petter Hauge, he's netted 5 goals coming into this game for Bodo in the Champions League this season. That's the joint most by a Norwegian player for a Norwegian club in a single edition of the competition, along with Frode Jønsson in 2000-2001 and John Kerrø in 1999-2000, both for Rosenborg. He's just beaten that because he scored tonight. Jean Petter Hauge. So another history maker. Well, Scott, I don't know about that. I have to say, I don't know about that, because Bodo have another free kick here. It's Berg that's over it. Right-footed delivery. Up and away by Akanji. Drops for a shot from range, but it's well over the target, well over the crossbar on that occasion. And I have to say, I picked this game to watch and to do the watch-along for tonight, because I thought it's got to be a game where we're going to see something historic one way or the other. Either Inter are going to find a great comeback and they're going to progress from a 2-goal deficit, or Bodo are going to pull off an unbelievable kind of victory in this tie. And it was exciting either way, whatever happened, but little did I think that we would be sitting here 4 minutes from the 90 minutes and Bodo Glimt leading Inter Milan at the San Siro by 2-1 and a 5-goal aggregate score, or 5-2 aggregate score. Here's Bonnie. Sucic. Oh, a little loose. Bastoni will mop it up though, but stolen away again. A little bit hesitant there, Inter, and they've got the man disadvantage here. Here's Hauge. Can he find an option? He's not going to rush this, and he's just going to sensibly play it backwards to recycle the possession. They've not put a foot wrong at all tonight, Bodo. Whether going forward or defending. I mean, they've faced 29 shots tonight. 6 of them on target, which is criminal from Inter's point of view. That 15 of their 29 shots have been off target. And again, it goes to the point that we made coming into tonight's game about their lack of accuracy in front of goal, Inter. And without Lautaro Martinez, they look like a lost team. And that kind of one way says how important he is to the club, but also against that factor, how reliant they are upon him in big games and in important moments to come up with the goods. And he's not available tonight, and they needed someone like him tonight in front of goal, but haven't been able to find anyone anywhere near the impact that Lautaro Martinez has for this Inter team. Albeit Champions League looks like it's not going to go all the way for them this season, not even close to where they reached last season. And really the point that was made in the Champions League final, albeit they were thumped and well beaten by PSG, but the thought was coming into this season was, can we do it again and go one step further? Well, they've not just not taken one step further, they've gone quite a few steps back, Inter. Quite a few steps back. But it's not all doom and gloom, I gotta say. Inter leading Serie A by 10 points, so they're quite a distance clear of their local rivals and their nearest battlers for the Serie A title. AC Milan, who are on 54 points, Inter on 64 after 26 games. That's where the issues come for Inter. Really. They've been almost impeccable in domestic competitions. I told you that, and we talked about how strong their league form and their cup form has been this season. And of course through to the semi-finals of the Coppa Italia. But you gotta say, when it comes to Europe, in the big moments, they've not been able to stand on their own 2 feet, Inter. After a kind of a really strong start to the campaign in terms of the league phase, they kind of fell away, lost momentum and dropped out of the top 8. And then, which has seen them go into the knockout playoffs, and at the moment being knocked out at the very first hurdle of the knockout phase is a kind of, they climbed the mountain at the start of the season and have fallen down ever since. But this is tonight an evidence that, you know, probably team cohesion and understanding as a group is a lot more important than individual quality or individual players or money or stature in this competition. It really does come down to the team cohesion and their understanding as teammates and the real 100% belief in what they're doing and their ability and fighting for their teammates. And Bodo have embodied every single factor of that. And they're 2.5 minutes away from being history makers, this Bodo Glimt team. 3 added minutes. We played around about just short of a minute of that. And as I said, they're not only just going to be history makers in terms of knocking out a huge team like Inter, last season's finalists, but being the first Norwegian team to do that, the first Norwegian team to progress from a knockout phase of the Champions League as we know it. And of course, ultimately, winning at San Siro and doing so. I mean, what a place to do it. What a venue. And Inter, I have to just say that they've been well beaten. There's nothing else you can say from an Inter point of view. They've been well and truly beaten over 2 legs by a team that's just been better than them over those 2 legs, and that's the simple nature of it. You can't have the many chances that they have, Inter, and not produce more than 1 goal in each game and concede from so few chances, but concede so many good chances for the opponents. But a pretty disappointing Champions League campaign in the end it will be for Inter. One to forget, but one that those Bodo Glimt fans and Norwegian fans as a whole, Norwegian football fans, will not forget for their lifetimes. The night that Bodo Glimt made history. A night that will go down in history. Seconds remain. Inter again trying to push for any sort of consolation, but I think they've had their consolation goal. And Thuram giving away a foul, showing his frustration to Shovald. But this goes well beyond anything other than just a remarkable result. The final whistle goes at San Siro, and a night of history for Norwegian football. Bodo Glimt become the first Norwegian team to progress from a knockout stage of the Champions League, and they've done it in quite an emphatic fashion. 5-2 aggregate victory over 3-time winners and last season's finalists Inter Milan, who had dreams of going back to the final and winning it this time when they fell so harshly to defeat in last season's final. But they couldn't even surpass the first knockout stage. Damning for Inter, but historic for Bodo Glimt. Final score at San Siro, it's finished Inter 1, Bodo Glimt 2 on the night. It's finished 5-2 to Bodo Glimt on aggregate. Incredible. Incredible. So, confirmation of all of our results this evening, and the 4 teams that are progressing to the round of 16. Atletico Madrid 4-1 winners against Club Brugge, 7-4 aggregate victory, high scoring aggregate score there between Atleti and Club Brugge. Atleti through, they were the first team to progress. Bayer Leverkusen joined them after their goalless draw with Olympiacos on the night, but a 2-goal advantage from the first leg sees the German side through. It is Norwegian football, Norwegian football's first. Bodo Glimt, the first ever Norwegian team to progress to the round of 16 of the Champions League and to progress in any knockout stage of the Champions League, beating Inter by 2-1 on the night and 5-2 victors on aggregate. And Newcastle scoring 9 of the 12 goals between the two teams there in that tie against Karabag. Of course, the Azerbaijani side, who made history of their own, getting to the knockout stages in what has been an incredible campaign for them, but has ended so harshly ultimately for them. They were 3-2 defeat for them on the night. Newcastle 3-2 winners and 9-3 on aggregate. So, confirmation that Atletico Madrid, Bayer Leverkusen, Bodo Glimt and Newcastle are the 4 teams that have progressed from the knockout playoffs tonight, and we will see which 4 teams will join them, and will join, of course, the 8 teams already through from their league phase position. That is all coming tomorrow night for you. And just to recap it, so Atleti will play either Liverpool or Tottenham. The winner of the other tie will play the other team, of course. Leverkusen's possible opponents, Arsenal or Bayern Munich. Bodo Glimt will play either Sporting or Manchester City, a City team that they beat to get to the knockout stages. So that's maybe a reprisal that we would love to see. And of course Newcastle will play either Barcelona or Chelsea. Of course all will be revealed on Friday as we see the round of 16 draw, and we will, of course, along with the draw for the round of 16, a bracket will be created and we will know the path to the final for each and every team and who they will possibly face en route to the showpiece event at the end of May in this season's competition. The round of 16 draw on Friday, and the competition's round of 16 stage gets underway on the 10th of March, the 10th and 11th of March for the first legs, 17th and 18th for the return legs. But that is it from us tonight. Historic night in Sna Siro. Not for the home team, as it usually probably is, but for the Norwegian side, who were arguably minnows coming into this season, without a win in the Champions League this season until match day 7 of the league phase. Wins against Man City and Atleti set up a cracker of a knockout phase tie with Inter Milan, 3-time winners, and they barely believed they could do it, but in the end they have done it, and they've knocked out Inter Milan in the knockout playoffs to get to the round of 16, creating history for Norwegian football. Good night.